Okay, welcome to part two. Unfortunate error. We had a Wi-Fi disconnection. So let's get back to, okay, lovely. Now we can do it. Okay, so somebody in the class said they knew what elasticity of demand is. And they said this on the basis of that probably they did an elementary economics course. If you did not do an elementary economics course, no problem. The common sense is very simple. The law of demand is a law. If price increases, demand falls, and vice versa. Other factors remaining unchanged. Okay, but different commodities respond to demand differently. If the price of something goes up by say 5%, there may be some commodities where demand will not change at all. For example, insulin for a diabetic patient. If the price of insulin goes up, what will happen to the diabetic patients in Dhaka city? Will they stop consumption of insulin?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Because
No,
their
sir.
demand for insulin does not respond to the price of the commodity. It has to do with the nature of the good and the demand for because of their health condition. So if I know that the price of insulin goes up by 5%, people are not going to reduce their consumption. That automatically tells me, as a business decision maker, that my revenue will go up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I'm the government, I even if nobody in the government ever studied economics, okay, the people who run the government, they are very aware that people who smoke are going to smoke even if the price goes up. So in the next budget, if the government decides to increase the price of cigarettes by 10%, do you think the smokers are going to reduce their consumption?
No, sir.
No, never.
No, sir.
Maybe some people will quit smoking, but that possibility, that percentage will be so low that ultimately by increasing the price of cigarettes by say 10%, government will earn revenue. So you see, certain goods respond differently to price changes. Think about another example, high-end mobile. A very expensive, exclusive set of sarees in Arong. Do you ever see Arong advertising that the price of our sarees have increased?
No.
Why does Arong always advertise that the price of our sarees or our exclusive men's garments has decreased? Because Arong knows from common sense that if the price of their, since their fashion is high-end fashion, if the price of their commodities fall by 1%, people will probably buy more than 1%. So what happens to our own revenue? Doesn't that increase?
Yes, sir. It will increase.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now let me generalize. Commodities which are price responsive, it is the wise decision to decrease the price in order to increase revenue. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Then if this makes sense common sense wise, then we get, once we get into the graphs, it will be even more apparent. Then the opposite is also true. Commodities that do not respond to price, it is better to increase the price in order to increase revenue.
Sir, isn't this called inelasticity of demand?
It is, but the thing is, you see, probably you did an economics course, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who have not done no
No, I
economics course.
forgot, sir. I did it far before, so I just.
Okay, lovely. Yes, you're correct. I'm trying to address people who are less confident about these
Okay,
terms.
okay, sir.
Okay. So where were we? Okay. So goods that don't respond to price, common sense tells us increasing the price will lead to increased revenue.
Yes, sir.
Think about salt. If the price of salt goes up, people are not going to reduce their consumption of salt. So revenue will go up. Have you ever seen a daily newspaper price falling over time? Have you ever seen a daily newspaper's price fall over time? Daily Star, Prothom Alo, Shomokal, Doinik
No,
Not
sir.
ever.
Why? Because the demand for newspapers does not respond to price. It's not price responsive. So over time, you will always find that the price of newspapers is increasing. But over time or during particular times, you will find that the price of high-end fashion is decreasing. Okay, now we can go to the slide share. Where were we before we were interrupted? Okay, where is it? Hey, here it is. Okay, if the price of insulin increases by say 5%, three things can happen. If people reduce their consumption by more than 5%, revenue will fall. If the people reduce their consumption by exactly 5%, there will be no change in revenue. If the decrease is less than 5%, revenue will still increase. And if since this is a medicine, it has nothing to do with price. If the price of insulin injections increase by 5% and people don't reduce their consumption, revenue will also increase. The reverse is true if we are looking at a high-end mobile or high-end fashion. If the price for high-end mobiles, they never increase the price. They always try to decrease the price to their target audience because they know very well that their commodity responds to price. So if the price falls by 5%, and this means that many people will start buying. Many people will start buying means that the sales of the company will increase. So in that case, uh, this is very important to know. Why consumer response to price change is important for managers. What happens after a price change? That depends on what the nature of the good. If it's like insulin, if it's like salt, then we know that people's demand is not going to respond that much. In that case, increase the price to increase revenue. If it is price responsive, that means the elasticity of demand is greater than 1, then reducing the price will help us to increase revenue. This brings us to the concept of price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity is a ratio just like what do you call it? A slope. But what's the difference? The difference is price elasticity is the ratio between percentage in quantity demanded and percentage in price. How is the slope defined? Change in quantity demanded due to change in price. There was no percentage in front. And now with a price elasticity, we just use a percentage. Now let me stop share. Those of you who are not confident with mathematics can tell from common sense, a ratio can have only three values. A ratio is what? Something divided by something, right? Isn't
Yes,
a
sir.
ratio something divided by something?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
There's only three logical possibilities for the value of a ratio. Either it is greater than 1. If it is greater than 1, then the numerator must be greater than the denominator. Or it is equal to 1. If it is equal to 1, numerator must be equal to the denominator. The last logical possibility is that the ratio is less than 1. In that case, numerator must be less than the value of the denominator. You tell me, is there any other logical possibility for a ratio to assume?
No, sir.
It can only have any one of the three possibilities. The numerator is greater than the denominator. That means ratio is greater than 1. It is responding to price, as we will see in a little while. If the ratio is less than 1, then that means numerator must be less than denominator. It is not responding to price. And this is just a theoretical example that when it is 1, then they are equally responding. Acha. When something is greater than 1, what is the maximum value it can have? Infinity, right?
Yes, sir.
When we say that the ratio is greater than 1, this is the one logical possibility. Then greater, how do we define greater than 1? It can carry on becoming greater and greater and greater up till it's infinity. That means the denominator change is 0. The other opposite is when we say that elasticity of demand is less than 1, what is the minimum value? 0, right?
Yes, sir.
So these are the 5 values of elasticity of demand. It's infinity, greater than 1, response to price. It's less than 1, equal to 0, it doesn't respond to price. And the one in the middle means that the numerator and the denominator, these two changes are the same. They're responding to each other at the same